What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. You clicked on the video so you know it. I am filming my video why I'm worried about one battle after another 2025. This is a video I've been thinking about doing for a month or so, but to be honest with you, I put it on the back burner and even said to myself that I wasn't going to do it because I wasn't sure how to articulate myself, express it in a way that I thought would be good for video format. But what happened was last night, I had a dream that I went to the movies to see this film, to rewatch, because I did get to see an early test screening of it back in March. More on that in a little bit. But I went to the movies, apparently in my dream, and when I went to the theater, it wasn't playing because it bombed so bad at the box office. And I woke up today, August 10th, 2025, and as soon as I woke up, I said to myself, I need to do this video. So here I am with the camera, filming this for you guys. So where do I begin? I guess the first thing I'll say is, I saw a test screening of this back in March, and it was a great experience. If you ever experienced the test screening, you know what I'm about to explain, which is when you go to a test screening, you have to give them your phone, your watch, they put it in a bag, and then you watch the movie. After the movie, you get a tablet, which is under the seat, and then you answer a bunch of questions, such as what you thought of the main performances, the acting, the writing, the cinematography. Would you recommend it to a friend? What would you give it? I believe it was out of 5 or 10. And then anything additional that you wanted to add. And then after that, you then gather your belongings from the bag, and then you leave the movie. And you can't talk about it. You sign an NDA, which is also something I forgot to mention. And that's something I've never had to do. So it was quite the experience, and the embargo has yet to lift because the film, when I saw it, it was supposed to come out around this time in August. But I think it was a couple days later that it was unveiled that it was actually going to be coming out towards the end of September for the film festival circuit. More on that in a little bit. But when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I got to experience this film 6 months in advance. And I already filmed my review and everything for it, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about it. But all I'll say is, to try to get around the NDA, all I will say is, it's phenomenal. But it's phenomenal in the way that when I turned to my friend that I saw it with after the film ended, I said to myself, PTA needs to get a Best Director nomination, if not a win. And I said that in March, and all these months later, I still say that, but at the same time, I will be the first to let you guys know that a lot can change in 4 months because we still have a lot to go in terms of the award circuit and other films that are coming out. So all that said, it's not necessarily the quality of the film as to why I'm worried about this film. It's more so the budget. So PTA is a filmmaker that I'm a huge fan of. I think he's one of the best filmmakers alive. He's one of my personal favorites. But when you look at his films, the budgets are always moderate. They're always like mid-budget range. Sometimes they're even lower budget range. And his films never are like huge hits. They're always like moderate hits, or they barely recuperate their budget, or they don't. But what he is able to do is, even if his films don't do well, they usually get a bunch of Oscar attention, and that's able to be his saving grace because even if your films don't make a lot back, they're able to get award attention, which is good for the studio and good also for the actors, the writers, and below-the-line categories for the studio. So it's kind of a win-win. One battle after another is something that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but I just want to first go down the list. I have the facts out. Let me go through PTA's box office as to why I'm a bit worried. So his first film, Heart 8, cost $3 million. It made $222,559. Boogie Nights cost $15 million. It made $43,117,303. Magnolia made $37 million. Magnolia, my apologies, cost $37 million, and it made $48,454,056. Punch Drunk Love, it cost $25 million. It made $24,679,535. There Will Be Blood, it cost $25 million, just like Punch Drunk Love, and it made $76,430,381, which is honestly his biggest hit. The Master, it cost $32 million, but it made $28,689,359. Inherent Vice, it cost $20 million, and it made $14,810,975. Phantom Thread cost $35 million, and it made $52,204,454. Licorice Pizza, which was his film that was previous to One Battle After Another, it cost $40 million, and it made $33,276,075. So as you can see, based on these budgets, which by the way, all this is coming from IMDb, as you can see, his biggest hit is There Will Be Blood, which made $76 million, a little over that. That's not enough when you consider the budget of One Bad After Another is supposed to be between 100 million and 175 million. The studio does have a little bit of faith in it, in that they say, well, it's Leonardo DiCaprio, so it's going to do well because he is a box office star. And there is some truth in that. But at the same time, Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't really make that many films anymore. And his latest outings, one was Don't Look Up, which was a Netflix film, so it doesn't keep track of the money, of course. And then Killers of the Flower Moon, which, even despite it being a Martin Scorsese film, for crying out loud, it wasn't able to recuperate its budget back. And that film cost, I think it was like $200 million. That film was a little over 3 hours, so I say maybe that's why some people didn't check it out. But the thing is with One Bad After Another is that it is a multifaceted genre film. It's a film that is hard to describe because there are certain themes that the film tackles that the marketing does not want to cover. And I understand why. It's because, just to be blunt, right-wing individuals are not going to want to see those themes depicted. They're not. And you don't want to have it where right away the film comes out and it's like, oh, these themes, people know about them before the film, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, I don't want to watch this film. This film is woke, which I think is a terrible word. It's stupid. It's not even film criticism, but you know how people are. Anyways, so you don't want those kind of individuals to know about those themes. So it's like you're hiding that. So it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to tackle those themes, what are you going to tackle? Okay, well, the first trailer, which came out about a week or so after the test screening that I saw, it was a Comedy Central trailer. And there is some comedy elements to the film, but it's not an all-out comedy. It isn't. And as you would see months later when the second trailer came out, because that trailer was like very action-heavy, thriller-esque. And the film is a mix of both, but it is also a chase film. It is also a searing drama. It is also a film that tackles, as I mentioned, certain themes that people are not going to want to have dived into by right-wing individuals. But it is also a film that I would dare say is quite important. And even though it's hard to market this film, it's a film that everyone should experience at least once. And I would dare say to go in knowing it as little as possible. Similar to, like, say, The Place Beyond the Pines or Waves. Those are films that, if you don't watch the trailer and you go into as blind as possible, you're going to really enjoy those films. But the thing is, those films didn't do well at the box office because of that very reason. And those films came out years ago. Now, try telling someone, don't go into this film with any information. Just go blind watch it. Nobody's going to want to do that because so many audience members, they need to have either IP or a reason to watch the film other than going to it as blind as possible. And I know some people will say, well, you know what? Sinners and Weapons are both films that Warner Brothers did, and they were both hits. And they're both original films. And I'll say, yes, that's true, but context matters. Those two films were both horror films that also were faceted into other genres. One Bad After Another is not a horror film. It doesn't have the luxury of that. It is a more adult-driven film. And that's not to slight Sinners or Weapons. I think they're both great films. But One Bad After Another, it is geared towards older adults. And those are individuals that haven't really gone back to the movies since COVID, unfortunately. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's going to be hard to get younger people to want to watch this film. And it saddens me. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, because this film should do well. It should be a huge hit. It should be one of those things where I'm eating my words. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that months from now, when this film has finalized its box office, I am hoping that I'm eating my words and I'm saying, you know what? I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad that it was a box office hit. But as it stands, I do not see this film recuperating its money, unfortunately, because of just the way it's marketed right now, and then the way that audiences take to this type of strategy, as well as the fact that, again, telling someone to go in as blind as possible just doesn't really sell it in regards to the theatrical exhibition anymore, unfortunately. The other thing is, and this is what really saddens me, and I'm just going to make this my last point, is that this could tank PTA's career. And I almost want to cry because of that, but the fact that he's given such a big budget is one of those things where I'm glad Warner Brothers is doing that. I really am. I'm glad that they are tour driven in this regard. But the fact of the matter is, this could put him in director jail. Because if it's a huge box office failure, some people might say, well, Chad, you made the point earlier about those films that he made that weren't box office hits. They did well at the Oscars. And that's where I'm worried, because If you spoke to me in March, I would say that this film would clean up at the Oscars, getting a bunch of Oscar nominations. But a month later, Sinners came out, and Sinners is also a Warner Brothers film. So if One Bite After Another and Sinners, if they are the two films that Warner Brothers wants to push, that's great. But if One Bite After Another does not do well at the box office, well, they're going to put all of that award funding and everything into Sinners because they know that Sinners is the one that it did well at the Oscars. I mean, with critics, it did well with audiences. It is probably the one that's going to do even better as opposed to the one that was a box office failure. And yeah, it did well with critics, but that's really not enough when you look at these two individuals. So some say they could still push for both films, but honestly, with the way that award circuit works, that's probably not going to be the case. So I would say this film, if it doesn't do well and it doesn't get any Oscar attention and it doesn't make any money back, PTA could be in director jail. And I think that's a crying shame because he is one of the few directors. There's 3 directors. There's Tarantino, who's only going to make one other film. At least that's what he says. Nolan and PTA that make film shot on film. But Tarantino, his films make a ton of money. Nolan, I mean, his name alone makes $1 billion in terms of films, but PTA is not that. So I'm hoping that he is able to still get work after this, but I'm worried if it doesn't do well at the box office. So again, these are just my general thoughts in the matter. It's why I'm worried about One Bite After Another. It's not a quality issue. As I said, I've seen the film. The film's phenomenal. I'm just worried in terms of how this film is marketed and how audiences are going to take to that, as well as the themes that are going to be pretty much presented once this film is unveiled to everyone and they're like, wait a minute. Anyways, the film is great. Check it out when this film comes out. But let me know your thoughts. Are you guys a little bit worried? Are you guys not? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, I appreciate your guys' support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscription, notification bell, follow me on Letterboxd, Patreon, and I will catch you guys later.